Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys figure preview video. Before we begin, I want to say a massive thank you to Ryan Kirkwood for coming along with me in person to this pop-up Hot Toy store in Shanghai and taking these badass high-res pictures. Show Ryan some love in the comments below because without him, this series literally wouldn't be possible. If you are looking to pre-order your very own copy of Bully Maguire, I have popped the link to Pop Collectibles in the description below. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've also included the discount code Justin's Collection for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. Now this was a bit of a surprise. Hot Toys did announce that they had the Spider-Man 3 license again. I'm not sure when they lost it, but they put up a little teaser video and people were speculating. They thought, ooh, now we're going to get a Topher Grace Venom finally. Or maybe we're going to get a Sandman after all these years. No more Diorama bases, a proper Sandman. No, it's another black suit Spidey. And I don't mean to sound like I'm not enthusiastic, because I am. I love Tobey Maguire as Spidey. Growing up, the Raimi trilogy, it was the shit. And this black suit was just the baddest of the bad. I could not get enough of it. So much so that I remember being on holiday when Spider-Man 3 came out and all the merchandise was hitting. And I didn't have a lot of figures growing up, so I just wanted anything I could get from this movie. There was this ice cream that you could buy that had a mystery surprise minifigure inside, and I just wanted that black suit Spidey figure so freaking bad. Unfortunately, no matter how many ice creams I had, I never got myself the black suit Spidey, and little Justin was very disappointed. Not to worry, I've more than made up for the lack of figures nowadays. I think that's probably one of the reasons I collect. Nevertheless, I'm really excited to see this guy. He does come with the new array of webs. One is wired, I do believe, and he also has the split web with 3 strands coming out. Not sure if he could actually do that out of his organic web shooters. Can we still call them web shooters if they come out of his body? Nevertheless, you do get the new array of webs and a full complement of hands. No longer do you have to worry about those stupid little rings that you would slide over the wrist peg with the previous version. This time they plug directly into the hands. Now, this head sculpt I like, but there are a couple of things that some people don't. Number one, the eyes. Yes, they're not accurate. The shape, the spacing, and the fact that the frames should be gunmetal rather than black. Hot Toys may or may not update them. If they don't, for me, this is like such a minute little detail, and it still looks like Raimi Trilogy Symbiote Spidey. So I can get around the eyes. I do like the mesh pattern, and I do like the clear layer over the top. The other complaint that people have is the split cut neck. The reason they've done that is because when you have the Tobey Maguire head sculpt on, you could have a proper skin tone neck. And when you have the masked head sculpt on, it's meant to blend in with one of the web lines, and while it's a neat idea in theory, sometimes it doesn't work super well. I would have preferred just a rubbery neck gasket piece. You slide it over the suit and it would have been completely seamless. Now, the other point of contention people have with this figure is this, the Venom head. If you get the special edition, you get 2 Venom heads, both of which allegedly aren't accurate. People are claiming that these are the Tom Hardy Venom heads. I'm okay with the way they look, honestly. I know the eyes aren't quite right, but it's the symbiote and it can look like whatever it darn wants to, so I don't mind the way this looks at all. If you don't, you can simply just opt to not display him with it, or maybe a customizer out there will make you a proper accurate version. This display base, though, is awesome. It's a diorama style display base. It's meant to be the clock tower, I think. It's well sculpted, you've got cracks in the concrete, you've got washers, you've got weathering, and you've got the symbiote goo working its way up the display base. Such a nice touch, and it brings the entire thing to life. I think when you have him with the Venom head on, it works even better because it looks like he's either mid-transformation or he's fighting the symbiote. So even though it's not 100% accurate, which I know we've discussed, we'll move on from it, I still think I might use it anyway. I particularly like how sharp the sculpt work is. All of the lines are very, very crisp, and usually with these display bases, they're just not. Most of the time, these things are made of hollow vinyl, and the details are super soft. but not this time round. Plus, the paint applications on the Symbiote make it look properly wet and glossy. It is very nice and shiny. Now, the only drawback here is the display base is very, very large. Having seen it in person, it's impressive, no question, but you're gonna need a ton of space in the cabinet to actually fit this thing. And there aren't any flat spots on the base to actually stand Spidey, so you are going to have to put him in a dynamic pose, one leg up, or have him crouching down or something, just so that he can stand on the base. And 9 times out of 10, you're more than likely going to have to use the waist clamp and the flight pole, which I don't love. I would prefer not to have to use them all the time and risk doing damage to the suit. Now, unfortunately, they've done it again. He has the awful, ugly, bunched ankles. If only they'd add a little bit of foam around the ankle peg, filling out that gap, that way the suit couldn't be eaten by that ankle joint. But they didn't do that, so the fabric does go into the joint, just like we've seen with previous Spidey figures and Superman figures. Maybe they'll fix it for the final version, who knows. The suit itself is this nice, deep, rich black, and over the top there is a lot of screen printing. It's very fine, and it's nice and shiny. So when the light hits it, the pattern does show up. It's that kind of brick pattern, and it's very accurate. I love the way the suit looks, and the body underneath is much more proportionate than the previous version. I still like that one, and it's using very similar fabric to that one, but this one I think is just superior. You can see that the fabric does still crease and wrinkle, of course it does, it's real material, but it is that stretchy spandex just like that first version. So I think you should get away with more dynamic poses, if the screen printing doesn't stick to itself, which is always a risk when you go dynamic with your Spidey figures. Now, having the symbiote goo on him is another risk. It seems this figure is full of risks, but you know what you're getting into when it comes to Spidey. Just maybe don't leave them on him permanently, because they could do some damage to the suit, the screen printing, denting it, scratching it, tearing it, if there's too much pressure from the symbiote goo itself, because that does look like a relatively solid piece of plastic. It does work its way around the chest, over his back, and then the Venom head comes over his shoulder, you'll see that in a second. Plus there are a couple of smaller pieces, one on his left forearm, and one on his right bicep. I'm not sure how often I'm going to use these, but I do like that they're included, and if you have that third-party Eddie Brock Tom Hardy figure, you could even give these pieces of Venomized goo to him, so it looks like he's mid-transformation. Ooh, or better yet, imagine using these black symbiote pieces on the red and blue suit Spidey, the friendly neighborhood Spidey from Spider-Man No Way Home. It would look like he's on his way to becoming Black Suit Spidey, but not just yet. Now that I think about it, I might give that a go in this review when both figures are eventually released. The web pattern looks accurate to me. It's also proud of the suit, it sticks out even higher than the screen printing, and it's done in gunmetal. The same thing can be said for the spider symbol. While it is being obscured here by all the symbiote stuff, in person I was able to peek around it, and yes, the symbol is accurate, it looks angry, and it's nice and angular. Now, he is currently holding his Spidey mask, which I think is a thing. It's been a while since I've seen Spider-Man 3. But it is at odds with the symbiote suit. Usually, it can just retract itself. If I'm remembering correctly, again, please don't revoke my Spidey nerd card. But it's a nice touch if you want to have him unmasked. No harm in throwing that in, of course, and if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. The gloves, or the hands, are fully sculpted versus the fabric of the suit. There is a very different sheen. There doesn't have to be. If only they'd painted the gloves in matte, then painted on the web pattern in gunmetal, I think they would have blended a little bit better. Speaking of blending better, this symbiote does look like it's emerging from the suit. It sits very snug on the body, which is something that I'm worried about, as we discussed earlier. There's a lot of life to it. There are holes straight through it, you've got the sinewy bits and pieces, it looks like it's moving, it looks wet and glossy and nasty. But the head, yeah, I see it, especially with this one. It ain't the right Venom. This is Tom Hardy's Venom. The shape of the jaw, the eyes, the tongue sticking out. This just isn't accurate to Spider-Man 3. I don't mind it because you don't have to use it. Still, I would have preferred an accurate Venom because we do see the face of the symbiote at one point in the film. So I think they could have gotten it a lot closer to Topher Grace's Venom than what they ended up going with, which is Tom Hardy's Venom. Still cool, still neat effect, and I particularly like that smoky eye look, how they have some little black bits working their way up into the white lenses, and it's so slimy looking, and how sharp the teeth are. But all of that good stuff doesn't do enough to excuse the fact that it's just the wrong Venom head. All of those people screaming in the comment section when this was announced saying, Hot Toys, this is the wrong Venom head. I'm totally with you. Now I see it. It is the wrong Venom head. But I just don't think they're going to do anything about it. It's unfortunate. Still, it is something we're going to have to live with. Sometimes they change things when they're really important, like the head sculpt. When it comes to something that was never really seen in the film, I don't think they're going to pour any more money into this. It's also quite curious that the symbiote is attached to his head. You can see the little symbiote tendril pieces working their way over his forehead, which does mean posing with this piece on, you are going to have some more limitations as compared to posing without it. Around the back, there you can see the Spidey symbol. And how the flight pole connects up to the display base. It actually screws into the symbiote, which also acts as a heel for the display base so it doesn't topple over. Now, this head sculpt, in pictures, it looks incredible. In person, it looks even better. This is Bully Maguire, and I cannot wait to see all of the customs. People are going to get a black suit, business suit, not black suit Spidey, although you will have to get that to get this head sculpt, you know what I mean. They're going to get a black shirt, they're going to have him in the dancing pose. Heck, I'm even tempted to do that myself, it's too iconic not to. He's got the fringe coming down over his forehead, a little bit emo. He also has one individual strand sticking out, and the eyes are movable, so you can get just all kinds of sassy with that expression. If you want to have him looking up and to the side, you can totally do that, and I think that's what I'm going to do with my version of Bully Maguire. If only this was a 2-pack. Can you imagine if they gave us black suit Spidey and a black business suit, so you could pop this head sculpt on that body? It's not going to be too challenging to get that done, it just would have been a nice value add, especially for the deluxe version. On the body, you can see that seam line where the neck connects up. Why didn't they add a web line at the base of it? The web line is actually underneath the crevice, so the shadow that's being cast on top of the web line actually almost completely eliminates it. I get what they were going for, and it can work if they do it correctly. Statue companies do this all the time with Spideys, but Hot Toys haven't quite figured it out just yet. Hot Toys, just add a gunmetal web line right on the bottom of the seam, and then it will be way more hidden than it is with this particular attempt. Am I excited for this, even though it's got flaws? Heck yeah, I am. I don't care about those things. Well, I do, but not enough to not order him. I still cannot wait to get my black suit Spidey and kit bash my Bully Maguire. You know it's gonna happen. If you are looking to grab this guy, I have popped the link to Pop Collectibles in the description below. As always, do your own research, make sure you're comfortable before buying. I've also included the discount code Justin's Collection for 5% off your order if you do decide to buy from them. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe will catch you in the next video.